I want to tell you a story about how a country tried to wipe out its own. No, I'm not talking about Sudan. I'm not talking about the Holocaust in Germany. The civil war in Nigeria resulted in up to 3 million Igbos losing their life. At the time, that was up to half of the Igbo population, most of them dying out of starvation. Come with me on the journey as we explore the reason why the Federal Republic of Nigeria would try to wipe out the Igbos. Let's go.
One thing I've noticed, Premier, when I've been here, is that Northerners seem to have, what's called an obsession about the Igbos. Could you perhaps explain that to me?
Well, the Igbos are more or less the type of people whose desire is mainly to dominate everybody. If they go to a village, to a town, they want to monopolize everything in that area. If you put them in a labor camp as a laborer, within a year they will try to emerge as headman of that camp, and so on. Well, in the past, our people were not alive to their responsibilities, because you can see from our northernization policy that in 1952, when I came here, there weren't 10 northerners in our civil service here. Then I tried to have it northernized, and now all important posts are being held by northerners.
Is this policy of filling all key posts in the north solely with Northerners and not with other Nigerians a temporary or permanent one?
In actual fact, what it is a northerner first. If you can't get a northerner, then we take an expatriate, like yourself, on contract.
Doesn't this damage the idea, sir, of all people in all regions in Nigeria being fair citizens of one country?
Well, it might, but you are, new to our region, but how many northerners are employed in the east or in the west? The answer is no.
Why are the Igbos the most hated tribe in Nigeria? For years, Nigeria has been experiencing tribalism, bigotry, with different tribes hating on each other. Despite consisting of over 250 ethnic groups, which includes the three major tribes, Hause, Igbo, and Yoruba, one tribe has experienced the most hate, the Igbos. This hatred and bigotry were evident during the last presidential election in Nigeria, where most Igbos were attacked and not allowed to vote at different polling units in the country.
Repeat them again. Any Igbo where them born very well, where them born here, where them born here, make it come for
Igbos have suffered physical violence, hate speech, attacks, prejudices, and the Holocaust since Nigeria's independence.
Nothing happened. This was a peaceful demonstration. Only for us to get to this place, where the boys were telling us, "What do you come to do here? You, Mama Igbo, you came to Yoruba land to do this." He was threatening me. Even if I'm a Mama Igbo, am I not in Nigeria? Am I not in Nigeria? Even if I'm Mama Igbo. Is that a threat? Then if you are here to protect us, you will not stay back. And let us be threatened by the state unions, the state sponsor dog, that is still threatening us. He threatened me live.
What did he say to you?
He said, "Ọmọ Igbo, kí ló wá ṣe níbí báyìí? Ọmọ tó ná gbogbo yín lẹ́yọ kọ̀ọ̀kan." My name is Funmi-Jolade Ajayi, and even though if I'm Ọmọ Igbo, am I not in Nigeria? Am I not in taxpayers? When does it become a crime to protest in Nigeria? Forget about your religion, forget about ethnicity, forget about tribalism. We are all Nigerians. Injury to one is injury to all.
So today's video is focused on the Igbos and the reasons why they're the most hated tribe in Nigeria. Make sure to stick around as we take you through Nigeria, Igbo history, and the reasons why they're the most hated tribe. Thank you for watching. My name is Mike. I'm with BattaBox. If you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe and feel free to like this video and also share this video. And don't forget to comment if you have any comments to add. So without further ado, let's get into it. The Igbo people are one of the largest ethnic groups in Nigeria, known for their rich culture, resilience, and entrepreneurial spirits. They reside in the southeastern part of Nigeria and most of the southern part of Nigeria. The Igbos have come a long way since the colonial rule, since the independence of Nigeria, followed by the civil war, the genocide, which claimed the lives of more than 3 million Igbos. Despite being landlocked and suffering genocide, they turned out to be one of the most successful tribes and ethnic groups in Nigeria. But when the British arrived in Nigeria in the late 19th century, they met strong resistance to their rule from the Igbos. This resistance led to conflict and tensions. But other tribes such as the Yoruba, the Hausas, they both embraced the British and their culture. They showed little to no resistance. In order to have more control over Nigeria, the British introduced all three tribes to Western education. The Yoruba tribe showed promise and adapted easily to Western education. The Igbos also showed promise, but they also struggled to adjust. At the time, the more educated you were, the higher your chances of getting a job. This struggle with Western education limited the houses to a few jobs and opportunities. As a result, the Yorubas and the Igbos occupied some of the best roles and job positions in the colonial governments. Igbos occupied more prominent roles such as clerical officers, postal officers, cashiers, bankers, and railway workers. Some of the roles were located in the northern part of Nigeria. It didn't take long for rumors to spread of the dominance of the Igbo in most good positions within the colonial government, and in a region that wasn't theirs, especially in the northern part of Nigeria, similar to Jews in Nazi Germany. And because the Igbos are naturally entrepreneurial, there were accusations that were favored over other tribes. These biases grew in the minds of the locals, causing them to hate the Igbos. This was the first notable hatred and bigotry against the Igbos, which wasn't even their fault, as they possessed the needed skill sets to work in the then colonial government. Nigeria got its independence from Britain on October 1st, 1960.
Lagos racecourse is the scene, and it's the afternoon of Nigeria's great day, with thousands awaiting the climax and resolved to relish every minute leading up to it. Princess Alexandra, with Sir James Robertson, the retiring Governor-General, must have enjoyed the whole jubilant atmosphere of the occasion. The Union flag flying for the last time. Princess Alexandra was present, of course, for the final ceremony that took place on the stroke of midnight. This was the dramatic takeover by the new nation's own green and white flag.
The hatred for the Igbo tribe continued from the colonial times to after Nigeria got her independence. And in 1966, it increased so much that it led to the massacre of thousands of Igbos who were residing in the northern part of Nigeria. This massacre took place between May 1966 and September 1966, and it came about as a result of a failed coup carried about by soldiers of the Igbo tribe. Igbo soldiers such as Cardinal Nziogu and Emmanuel Ifeajuna were among the masterminds of the failed January 1966 military coup, known as the coup d'etat. The coup resulted in the death of some soldiers and well-known figures from other tribes, most notably of Hausa, Fulani, and Yoruba origins. Those who lost their lives included the then Premier of the Western region, Ladoke Akintola, Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa, Brigadier Samuel Ademulegun, Colonel Kor Mohammed, Lieutenant Colonel James Pam, and the then Northern Region Premier, Alhaji Sir Amadu Bello, and a host of others. At the time of the coup, Nnamdi Azikiwe, the then ceremonial president of Nigeria, was away. The Northerners capitalized on his absence and tagged it a plan by the Igbos to overtake Nigeria. According to the coup planners, their plan was to install Chief Obafemi Awolowo, a Yoruba man, as the new head of state. The coup wasn't ethnically or tribally motivated. Rather, it was for the betterment and good of the country. It didn't matter what the purpose of the coup was. To the Northerners, the Igbos planned to take over the country by eliminating top chiefs from the north and other tribes. If you recall, this was again due to the marginalizations of the Igbos in the northern part of Nigeria. It was tagged an Igbo coup because no notable Igbo military chief, soldier, politician, or top figure was eliminated in the failed coup. Also because it was assumed that Igbo celebrated the deaths of these people.
Mr. President, do you think it was a coup or a mutiny?
From what we have read, from what I have read in the papers or seen in the televisions, some say it's a coup, some say it's a mutiny. What I would say is that there is a sort of insurrection, or there is disorder in Nigeria, which the civilian authorities find impossible to contain.
So the northern locals were very angry. They took the law into their own hands, went on a killing spree, and carried out ethnical cleansing of the Igbos that were living in the north at the time. They also pressured the soldiers to take revenge, and the soldiers, led by Lieutenant Colonel Murtala Mohammed, vowed to take revenge on the Igbos for the death of their fallen heroes. On July 28, 1966, a few months after the failed coup, they made a counter coup. The main objective was to eliminate military chiefs, soldiers, and notable figures of the Igbo tribe and reduce the influence of the Igbos in the affairs of the country. Their plan worked to perfection. Around 300 Igbo junior officers, soldiers, and military chiefs were rounded up and killed. Some of the notable Igbo figures who lost their lives, including the then head of state, General Agoy Ironsin, Lieutenant Colonel Gabriel Okonweze, Major John Obienu, and Lieutenant Colonel Israel Okoro. The coup was successful except in the eastern part of Nigeria, which was mostly occupied by the Igbos. The continuous hatred of the Igbos and the failure of the 1966 military coup in the east were major causes of the Nigerian Civil War. The Northerners wanted revenge at all costs. Killing Igbo soldiers and military chiefs wasn't enough. They wanted total control of the eastern region. On May 1967, the Nigerian Civil War officially started. The main objective of the war was to exterminate Igbos and reduce their population, thereby reducing their domination. Igbos were ethnically profiled and identified. Those who lived outside the east were rounded up and massacred. There were campaigns by non-Igbos that Igbos should be executed on sight. Those that barely escaped and those that were not killed were victims of torture and maltreatment. This was a common occurrence at the time. Some notable cases were the execution of the Igbos at Tinubu Square in Lagos and the Asaba massacre, which took the lives of more than 800 Igbo men.
The progress of the federal troops towards Asaba could be measured by the approaching sound of heavy guns and the rattling machine gun fire. But why was Asaba the target of the federal troops, and particularly Colonel Murtala Muhammad or even IBM Haruna? Asaba is the metropolis where soldiers like Major Kaduna Nziogu, the leader of Nigeria's first military coup on January 15, 1966, came from. Even though Nziogu was born and raised in the north, his parents were from Okpanam, 9 kilometers from Asaba. Okpanam fell within the Asaba metropolis or division as it was known then. Analysts adduced that Murtala Muhammad and Taiwo were not satisfied with their revenge coup of July 1966, where they killed Igbo officers as revenge for the January 1966 coup. Remember that Nziogu had led the coup in which the premier of the northern region, Ahmadu Bello, beloved by many in the north, was killed along with other northern leaders. Murtala and Taiwo were hell-bent on continuing their revenge killings beyond their fellow soldiers. This could have been the reason behind the massacre at Asaba.
As the war went on, millions of Igbos continued to be massacred, starved, and many died of malnutrition. The Igbos who survived identified as other tribes just to evade torture and death. It continued this way until the end of the war in January 1970. At the end of the war, over 3 million of the Igbos had already lost their lives. It was literally a genocide. And this genocide was committed by the Federal Republic of Nigeria against the Igbo tribe. The ones who survived had no means of livelihood and were handed just 20 pounds. It didn't matter how wealthy you were before the war or how much money you had in the bank accounts. You were just given 20 pounds. Igbos lost their properties to landlords and the locals because they were not allowed to return back. Most properties were confiscated and never again given back to this day to the original owners, who were Igbos. They had to start all over from scratch without any help from the Nigerian government. Present-day hatred and bigotry. You might think from the events of the past, Igbos will be free of hate speech, attacks, and prejudice. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Other non-Igbo tribes in Nigeria continue to hate Igbos to this very day. They don't hide it anymore, and they are clearly vocal about it. There are campaigns about Igbos and how they don't deserve respect from their host communities. They coined a nickname for Igbos, Omo Igbo, or in some cases, Omo Yibo, a term used to refer to anyone of Igbo origin. Even the current First Lady of Nigeria was caught on tape making a statement that they will take over the properties of the Igbos and literally chase them out if they do not agree to cooperate.
I know when Nigeria is like good, and now you vote for Buhari. I go no. Igbo, we not the trust in Nigeria. We not the trust in Nigeria.
In politics, Igbos are marginalized and sidelined. They hardly get to the top positions or contracts that can have any major impact on Nigeria. And that is partly because of the fear that what happened in 1966 could happen again, because the Igbos are termed to be more dominant than other tribes. They are seen as the enemy and are easy targets during protests, riots, and any unrest.
The planned nationwide protest is a strategy, new strategy by the Igbos to destabilize or truncate the democratic governance in this country, simply to vent their spleen on Yoruba nation. But they are not happy as they lost the 2023 presidential elections. They are not happy. And those who are canvassing for this insurrection, the felons, they are felons canvassing for this insurrection, are either Labour Party members or IPOB, the Igbo stock in that party. Why? Those who want to destabilize this country, even if you want to destabilize the country, it is not the time that Yoruba is in charge. It will not happen. It will not happen by the grace of God. So those who are planning this devilish protest should please avoid coming to any Yoruba state.
To be Igbo in Nigeria, to be Igbo is not easy. The Igbos are so marginalized. When they vote, they will say, go back inside. You can't vote. Go and vote there. Go and vote there. When they even win, sometimes they collect the ticket from them. When they want to come out for protest, they will say, Oro day. If Oro no day, they will say, no, Igbo must go. What kind of life is that? And we claim to be in one country, one nation together, Nigeria. Is Nigeria one nation? You to think about it. Igbos are extremely marginalized. And they are not the poorest in the society. In fact, they are one of the richest in Nigeria, if not the richest. They are employer of labor. They add value. Election, they will chase them. Orombo. Protest, they will say, go and protest in your village. In their village, they will say they want to go. They form their own Biafra airport. They will say, you can't go. What a country.
This has caused thousands of Igbos to lose their life over the years in Nigeria. Igbos were victims of physical assault, violence, attacks in the last concluded Nigerian presidential election in 2023. They weren't allowed to vote in different parts of the country. The attackers keep spreading hate speech and asking them to go back to their regions, even though Nigeria is meant for everybody, reiterating that they were not welcome to their lands or allowed to vote where they were domiciled. Most non-Igbos preferred to vote for anyone who is not of Igbo descent, even if they weren't qualified for the posts or positions they were vying for. The last Nigerian presidential election is a clear example. The candidate young Nigerians voted for might have won if he wasn't of Igbo origin. If you are still watching, thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? Please subscribe and don't forget to like this video. Now, in conclusion, the hatred for Igbos in Nigeria doesn't seem to be ending anytime soon. Many believed that the failed military coup of June 15, 1966 is the chief cause of the hatred that have spanned over the decades. What do you think? Do you agree? Please let us know in the comments below.
So that last time.
I've always been told my English was quite clear. I don't need to explain further. There would be a breakdown of law and order. That's what they're begging for. I just wanted everybody to know that I'm not too old to shy away such responsibility if it comes. That's all. How can you take a people like the Igbo and try and to impose on them a leadership? It's not possible. It was possible before, but after Biafra, no. Everybody knows that. That's what I really meant. Am I clearer now?
Very, very, very clear.
Thank you.
Yes.
Bata bata, bata bata, bata box.